My name's Marcus Bleasdale and I'm a photographer at VII Photo. And the work I concentrate on mostly is trying to document the effects of conflict on population. I work a lot in Central Africa, covering the conflicts in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Central African Republic, Somalia, Sudan. And I've been documenting those conflicts for about the last 12 years, looking at the population and how it has been affected by the conflict in the country and how that conflict manifests change within the population. And I work a lot with human rights organizations looking at how that conflict manifests itself into human rights abuses. And my camera of choice is the Canon 5D Mark II, and I use it because I grew up in photography with small camera bodies and small lenses. For me, the lenses are everything. It's all about the optics. It's all about having the best optics available. I probably work 80% of the time on a 35mm. If I need a little bit more versatility and things are getting a little bit more crazy and I need to react a lot faster, then I do sometimes switch to the 24-70 because that gives me the zoom very, very quickly and I can move around. But if I have the time to switch and move around, then it will always be the fixed lenses 35, 24, 50. And because I move in very, very remote places, I need things to be compact. I have to carry sometimes a lot of things on my back for many, many weeks, sometimes months. And so I like to travel very light. I need things to be as unobtrusive as possible. And I just want to work with that one body. You know, it allows me that feel. It allows me to be intimate with my subjects. It allows me to stay close and not frighten them with this big piece of equipment. A lot of the time I'm working with children, and if I'm carrying this big camera with these big lenses, they tend to get very scared. They don't know what a camera is a lot of the time, and they think it's a weapon. They've obviously run from conflict. They've seen people with guns around their shoulders and RPGs on their backs. So the 5D Mark II and a small single fixed lens is a perfect way of walking into that environment. The kids don't get scared, and I manage to get the images that I need. Every year I hold a photo workshop in Kashmir, in a town called Srinagar, and Srinagar is based on a lake. It's Lake Dal, beautiful place. And just last year I was shooting on a small boat on Lake Dal, and the boat moved. Somebody moved inside the boat, and suddenly the camera and the lens just popped over the side of the boat and into the water. And I kind of fished it out, panicked, screaming at myself that something had gone wrong and I was going to mess this shoot up. And I wiped it down, turned it on, and it worked. And I carried on shooting. I was filming as well, and the camera got me through that shoot and got me to the bank of the lake, and I can switch bodies then. And the camera carried on working for another couple of days until slowly small things started to go wrong. And then when I got back to Europe, I sent it back to Canon, and Canon gave it a little bit of love and sent it back to me, and it's working fine. So it got me through that shoot. I would have thought that you drop something in water for even a nanosecond and it wouldn't work, but this one did. And it got me through that shoot, which was amazing. I work in very, very remote places a lot of the time. I'm sometimes running after soldiers up a hill. Sometimes there's shooting. I have to jump down into a ditch. Sometimes there's massive dusty situations. I work a lot in Darfur, which is a desert, and there are sandstorms all the time. I also work in Congo, which is, everyone knows, extraordinarily hot. Not just hot, but humid. Sometimes it's like 95% humidity. I certainly don't work in comfortable zones, that's for sure. And if you think of like using this camera day to day in the center of Africa and how I travel, I don't respect my cameras very much. I'm sure I should. But they're a tool for me. I put them through hell. It gets dragged through the dirt, it gets dragged through the bush. They get beaten and broken, and every time they work. It's great. I was doing a job in Congo at the end of last year, traveling through the bush on motorbikes. And the bag I was carrying the cameras in broke, and the camera bag swung around to my left and dragged me off the bike at 45 miles an hour. And I do a lot of work for Doctors Without Borders, and this is the first time they did work on me. I ended up in hospital with them kind of stitching me up and fixing me But this was a big crash, and the camera bag smashed into the floor, and you would think that maybe a shutter would have been dislodged or something within the camera wouldn't work, but both my bodies came out totally fine, and which is so important. I'm 750 miles from anywhere, and the investment in terms of money for me to get there was huge, thousands of dollars. So I really need that, to rely on that camera to be able to work in those situations, and it did great. I shoot a lot of video with the Canon 5D Mark II as well as stills, and I haven't done a job in I think 3 years where I haven't needed to use video at the same time. And what I used to do was carry the 2 stills cameras and an extra video and extra sound equipment and everything else, and that really did hinder my ability to travel to places very quickly and get into an area very quickly and film and shoot stills and shoot video at the same time. But as I was mentioning earlier on, this job I did in Congo, I was doing both very, very remote places, and with a very small bag, 2 camera bodies, a small bit of sound equipment. It was so easy, and I was so versatile in the way that I could approach the subject matter, and it's changed the way I work, and it's made areas that were inaccessible without enormous amounts of logistics completely accessible, which is great for me.